Good morning, dear friends. Let's begin with 3 sounds of the bell. When you listen to the bell, come in with your in-breath and just put your awareness as the sounds of the bell enters your ear. Just listen to it with your in-breath and then out-breath. Dear respected Thay, dear monastic brothers, dear friends, today is Sunday, April 22nd. We are at Lehigh University, entering our 3rd week of the retreats. We name it Path of Happiness. In this retreat, some of us monastic brothers and lay friends are traveling a segment of the AT trails, Appalachians Trail. So every week we will come on the weekend to have share our practice with you, with everybody that's along the Sangha along the path. And then during the weekdays, then we would have our backpacking with some friends, and we walk along the trails. It's very beautiful ideas. For me, I feel like us monastic brothers are going back in time into the days of the Buddha and the Sangha, who walked together from one town to another to share the practices. So in this retreat, I'm very lucky to come along with my elder brothers and younger brothers. Over there in the corner is my elder brother, Thay Phap. Thay Phap is currently staying in EIAB, European Institute of Applied Buddhism in Germany, Wobro. So it's the location used to be a very big partial military base of the Nazi as a hospital. But in our teacher's vision, we want to heal the wounds of the past and to transform it. So Thay Phap take up the responsibility of staying there and transforming this huge hospital place to be a place to teach the Dharma, to share the practice, spiritual support for everyone in Germany and also around the area in Wobro. So it's a very big task for him. I'm also very lucky to have my elder brother, Thay Phap, who is doing the video editing and video taping of the retreat. Thay Phap is originally grew up in Connecticut, but now he's also staying in Plum village in France, where I am staying, in a little bit south of Bordeaux region. So my name is Thay Phap Khoi. I'm Vietnamese. I was able to have a chance to come to America when I was young, and I live in Arizona and grew up there. And then I found the Dharma and well, at that time, I see it's a good career opportunity for me to join the monastic career. And I've been very happy as a monk since then. High in the back somewhere is my younger brother, Thay Phap. He's French, but right now he's staying in the Plum Monastery at Pine Bush, New York. We trade all the time. It doesn't matter what regions we're from, but we have many centers. And then as one center need, then we will volunteer or we will move to a certain center to help and to share our practice. And especially, I'm very happy on this trip. I have my younger brother, Sichu Dao Han, who is sitting at the bell. He's Dutch, very gentle and very quiet, but very, very lovely. He's like, I would think he's like a gentle panda bear. But in this retreat, what we like to do is to travel like this as a group of monastics. And we go from one place to another. But while we walk, it's not just walking. We walk all the time. But in this hiking retreat, we really focus on our footstep. It's just like the Buddha and the Sangha during that time, wherever they travel from one place to another. It's not just to travel from one place to another. The destination is not the main concern. It's how do you walk from here to that, to wherever that you're going to. So in each step that we walk, each step that the Buddha and the Sangha in the old times have walked, it has always been a peaceful step, gentle, peaceful step. And that energy of awareness in each step, the mindfulness energy, the energy of calm and peace is what this world needs. Because right now, in our world, as you've seen, there's many war, many violence that erupted from one country to another. And it's filled with despair and hopelessness. But for us, we can change a little bit of that to balance out with the way we conduct ourselves in our way of walking. We can somehow a little bit contribute a little bit of our energy, of peacefulness, of calmness back into this world. So on this path of happiness retreat, this is what we're doing. But not only that, with the friends that come with us, we ask you to also to live behind, piece by piece, the things that you carry on your shoulder all the time. Your worries, your planning, things that have happened in the past. Sometimes some of us don't just carry the 30 pounds of backpacking equipment. We carry tons and tons of suffering, of things that happened in the past. And we keep carrying it with us everywhere we go. And we're not free from it. So in this retreat path of happiness, we want all of us to be able to let it go, to walk freely, peacefully, mindfully at each step. And that, when you're able to generate that, that's healing. Healing for yourself and healing for the world. And so, this is the first time we are doing this. We're still on a learning trial base, but we hope that you and all the friends around the world could in the future help to see if we can keep this kind of retreat going times after times. Because after the 2 weeks that we have been on the retreat so far, I think it have also brought a lot of healings to the friends that have come with us. And this is something that we're very happy, because it's something that we want. We hope that it will happen as we travel from here, part of the trails, and all the way down to Washington, D.C., where we will be walking with many more friends, many young friends on a peace walk, just like Thay have done in the past, to walk for peace. Because only peace can embrace the violence that's happening. We cannot take violence to try to remove the violence that's happening. It would never work. So for us, this is the retreat, in the themes of the retreat that we're going. And we're entering the 3rd week, so we still have another 5 weeks to go. I'm looking very much forward to that, to travel along with my friends. And also, on this path, we name it the path of happiness, but it also have a tricky meaning. It doesn't mean that you will find happiness at the end of the path. Usually, we always think that in our life, we're looking for something. A lot of us, we think that, yes, if I have enough money, I make enough money, living a comfortable house, having everything that I need, then I will be happy. But in reality, that is not quite so. Sometimes we chase after the goal, that happiness we're looking for. But even until our last breath, we may not be able to find it. Because for us, we always, at least for me, when I look at things, I always see the negative part in the world. So the suffering is something that I usually see first. I am suffering. I have this problem. I have that problem. But the happiness is very rare that we're actually able to recognize it. So in this world, we usually see, oh wow, everything is suffering. It's like, here, everything is suffering. But we forget that happiness is on the other side. They're part of each other. They're not separate. So what we need to do is to learn how to look on the other side, to see a more complete picture of both suffering and happiness. So in the Buddha's teaching, one of the 4 Noble Truths is that, yes, in this world, there are sufferings. It exists. But there's also happiness. It also exists. So for us, we practice mindfulness to be able to come back and be aware of us, of our present moment, of what's happening around us, and to be able to recognize the little happiness that's always there next to us. It have always been there. Unfortunately, we just did not have the capacity to see it, because in our mind, we're constantly thinking of many things, planning of many things, carrying with us this load of suffering from the past, and we hold on to it, and we keep looking at it, and we say, oh, this is suffering, I'm suffering. But you never look up and see there's beauty outside of that, and to have a better way to embrace that suffering. So when we are able to come back to ourselves, like in this morning, my brother Dao Han used in the guided meditation, the breath is the key for you to go back to yourself. Because our breathing, no matter if we are consciously aware of it or not, we are still breathing, each breath at a time. But because we're not aware of it, we're not aware of our body, so then we always think that our mind and our body is separate. So sometimes we neglect to recognize our body and live only in our conscious mind, on our imaginary scenarios for the future, of our suffering that we play back like a movie in a loop, looping back, and then we just stay in it as we're watching a movie and drown in it sometimes. So in meditations, mindfulness is to be aware. First thing is to be aware of yourself, your body. So when we are aware of our breathing, it's just coming in and we follow our breath, our mind, our conscious mind, is now connected into the breath. And then that brings us back to the body. And in our mind, it's only happening one thing at a time. It's like a TV. You can only watch one channel at a time. You can flip really fast, but still one channel at a time. So when we are aware of our in-breath, we're watching it as it's coming through. Our mind is breaking, letting go of all the worry, letting go of all the past, just for that one moment to follow the in-breath. But even that one moment, only that much, is a training. Because everything we do in life, we have to train ourselves. We cannot say, oh, I know how to breathe, and then you breathe. I know how to play tennis, and then you play tennis. No. You can see and you watch all the tennis techniques, but if you're not out there hitting it with your racket, it's not going to work. And of course, at the beginning, when we play tennis, it may be a little bit difficult. We're not hitting it inside the court, it's flying everywhere. But as we're practicing, we get better and better. So meditations and the practice of mindfulness is also the same. We have to practice day by day. And the best way to practice, the best way to anchor ourselves is to use the breathing. Follow the breath. 1 breath, 2 breath. And in that only small moment, your body is automatically relaxed. And this is something that you can experience yourself. And it's very useful in your daily life, especially when you find that you are a little bit stressed out, a little bit lost, then just come back to the breathing. It's the same on our walking retreat. As we're walking on the path, we also find ourselves lost in our thinking. But we have the breathing, our breath, and we come back to it. And then we have our footstep, that contact, that touching of the bottom of your foot on the ground. You feel that. And that brings your mind not just into the breath, but down through your body, down to the footstep. And then when you do that, then certainly your mind and body is as one. And this is your base. This is the foundation of meditation. Meditation is not just to sit there. It is one way of meditating. But you can also meditate all day by awareness of how is your breathing, how is your body moving from one place to another, the contact. So in this way, when everything is back and the mind have a chance to rest, the conscious mind, then it becomes more aware of the things that's happening in your body. That's your first thing. And also the things that's happening in your mental state of mind, your conscious mind. Are you happy? Are you angry? Are you sad, depressed? Or do you have joy? These are the things that we need to recognize. A lot of time, the suffering comes and you recognize it right away because it's painful. You can feel it in your body. When you're hurt, sometimes you feel it right in the chest. When I'm angry, my whole entire body warms up. I can feel it. And then I want to hit something, do something. But if you're aware of it, you are aware before it even come. So in meditations, when you are able to come back to the body, your mind clears up and you recognize more and more and more. And in that way, then your ability to find the most important part when you are suffering is, what is the root of your suffering? That's part of the Noble Truth. Why are you suffering? What is the cause of it? How did you get there? But you're not drowning in it. You're sorry. Sorry about that. We stay in the cold for the last 2 weeks, so I think I'm catching something also. But I was saying, when you look deeply into your suffering with a clear state of mind, then you recognize what is the cause of my suffering. And when you're able to recognize it without being drowned in it, then it's very easy for you to find a way out. So for me, in my life, I see that the major cause of my suffering is actually the way I interact with others. I'm very, before I met the practice, I'm a very hot-headed person. I always argue. I like to argue. And I like to think that I'm right. I'm always right. And so, every time I talk to somebody, I always try to prove myself. I'm more intelligent. I know everything. And you should just listen to me. I am the walking encyclopedia. Don't worry. I have all the answers. And it's just the way I was raised and I grew up and I acted like that. But when somebody challenged me, then of course, I even get worse. Especially if I have to argue with someone. And most of the time, it's the people that we love, is the one that we argue the most. And during those times, I was not aware of what I am saying. You know, you are in the heat of the emotion, sometimes frustration, sometimes anger. Especially frustration, when the other person doesn't get what I'm trying to say. I feel like that. So then I will push it. And I will say things. And because the words come out so fast, some of the time I hurt the people that I'm close with. And also, like in an argument, if they say one thing, in my mind, I already have 3 things to say back. It's like firing back even more to push them back, to hurt them. Of course, I wasn't intentionally doing it, but it just kind of come out like that. So speech, the karma of speech, it doesn't come back. It's a reaction, a word that I say out, and it travels. I cannot take it back. So in our practice, we have to be very careful with the things we say. This is part of causing hurt to others or bringing hope and joy to others. It's right speech. How do you share with others so that way you can encourage them? Or if you are not in the state where you can share these things and you know that if you're going to say it, it will hurt them, then you need to be able to stop. So meditations, awareness, mindfulness, allow you this fraction of a second to recognize your emotion immediately, your intention before you say something. So our brain is very quick to be able to analyze and adjust. So we only need a tiny fraction of a second to recognize that you are in a state where you're frustrated, strong emotions coming up. And to say that, you know it will hurt the other person. So the best thing at that time is, of course, not to say it, but also to go back into the breathing. Breathe in and follow it all the way down to your tummy. Because when you do that, the strong emotion that's building up, that energy, that anger, that frustration that's building, it follows your in-breath. And the mindfulness energy, because everything happening is energy-based, your mind is aware of or being controlled by the frustration, emotion, and energy, or you can choose to allow your mind to be concentrated awareness of your body. So it takes that energy away from the fuel nourishing the frustration into the energy of mindfulness. So when that frustration, anger, for example, come up, I go back to my breathing And I follow it all the way down to my tummy. And I breathe out. So that it loses its momentum, that frustration, emotion, and energy. Everything is transferred back into mindfulness. So that mindful awareness is able to embrace slowly the strong emotions. So give me the opportunity to not say the wrong thing at that moment. And then just allow it to slowly dissipate. And when I'm at a different time, a different state of mind, where my mind is calm and I'm able to look at the situation fully, then I can come back and reflect and see what is the best way for me to share. So that way I won't hurt the person. Still to get my message across, but also not to hurt them. But in order to do that, I also need another very important part. And that is to listen to what they had to say. Because sometimes when we have strong emotion, it touches a seed that makes us angry or frustration. Or even when make us sad, suddenly this whole thing just kind of come up and you kind of block everything away. We don't want to hear anything else. It's just you and this strong sadness, you and this strong frustration, anger, energy, and you hold on to it really tight and you don't let anything pass. So awareness, when you come back to the breathing like that, also allow you to let go of this and allow you to listen to the other person more. And then later to analyze, what is it that I really need? And sometimes you see that, yes, they also have some things that I say that was not correct, but there's also some truth in it. And if you care for the person enough, and you understand the person enough, you can see exactly where all of this is coming from. And you will find a better way to talk to them, to share your thoughts with them, and together in a more harmonious way. But at a different time, not at that one moment when things are heated. So for me, I found that speech was the greatest suffering that I caused. And because I caused that, because I say these wrong things at the wrong time, and that also caused a reaction back, and all the suffering that comes from the other side also. So then it's a cycle of suffering after suffering. So in my practice, it takes me a while, but I really be careful of the things I have to say, especially when I'm in a strong emotions that come up. And in doing so, I also spend a lot of time reflecting. So everything that I'm about to say, I usually take at least one breath to recognize whether or not I need to say it. So these are the things I have learned. And when I'm able to do things like that, I start to listen more and I learn to recognize more. Because sometimes when the person you're in an argument with, you always see that person is this mean, ugly person who always say the wrong things to me, hurtful things to me, complaining to me, all these things. That's the image that you paint for that person. And wherever you hear that person's name, see that person, all of that negative image always come in. So it's very difficult for you to love and embrace what that person have to say if this is all you see in that person. So for me, I also have to practice to look at the beauty of that person. So whenever I have a negative image of a person, then I usually spend time and contemplate, what else is there that is beauty in them? Can I recognize? Because not everybody is 100% terrible as I have imagined and painted in my mind. Everybody has some beauty in it. It's just that I did not see it. So when we begin to recognize the beauty in each person, the person that hurt us especially, the one that hurt us the most, then there's love there's a little bit of acceptance of the person. But most of the time, we will find things as much, much more beautiful. And we can see that we can love and care and understand where the person is coming from. And it will be much, much easier for us to reconcile with that person. So in our traditions, we have a practice that's called beginning anew. And this is something that we do very often. The way we live in our life, we do our best to live it very peacefully and harmoniously with everyone around us. But in reality, it's never always 100%. There's always time where we'll do something that causes hurt to others, and also there's time where others have done something that causes hurt to us. But if we bottle that up inside and we never share about it, then we and that person was starting to drift apart and to have a lot of issues. Sometimes I know people, even in my family, hate each other for 10 years, 20 years, never spoke to each other. And it's amazing. I mean, they are sisters, but yet they never seen each other for 10 years. They never even pick up the phone to say hello. So people can drift apart strongly like that. But if we learn to reconcile with each other and to express our feelings and the things that cause us hurt, then our relationship is much better. And if our relationship is much better, then there's more happiness instead of more suffering. So in our practice of beginning anew, usually we sit with each other and we share. And the first thing that we share is the beauty in the other person. We call it water the flowers of the other person. We have to recognize first. So the rule of thumb is you have to find 3 beautiful things in that other person before you say one thing that is not so beautiful to share. So that way, it's a little bit more lighter and easier. And this is actually not just for us monastic, but actually it's very useful for everyone, especially in a family relationship between mother, daughter, parent, child, between couples, or anywhere. Friendship is also the same, because this is something that we need. So you can also practice like that. When in the family, maybe once every 2 weeks or so, you sit down and you recognize the beauty in each other, you share. And that recognition also helps a lot in the healing of the other people. Like for me, for example, there are many times that people have done good things for me. Of course, they will never say it, but because I don't recognize it, then they feel like the things that they've done it doesn't really matter. And then when they stop doing it, then I feel like, oh wow, they must have been hate me or something. They stop, things like that. It always causes a friction because we never really communicate. So in the beginning anew, you can share, like in the family, for example, if mom cooks for you every morning before you go to school, then that's something that you can share. And now mom is old, you can still remind her of those times that she had make breakfast and have every lunch packed ready for you. And this is something that happened to me when I first came to America. I lived with my auntie and uncle, and every morning I have a packed lunch, perfect sandwich, perfect drinks, everything ready. But I never appreciated it because, for me at that time, I didn't think about it. But later on, nowadays, I think about it, and it was very precious to me. There's a lot of joy in that when I receive and eat that packed lunch. But I never think about it, was not grateful to receive it. So things like that, you can always share with a person to let them know. And when you share with the flowering, then that person is at a place where he or she understand that you're not coming from a place of hate, but you actually care for them. And what you share is important. So then they will have a chance to sit, and easier for them to embrace what you have to say. What you say, maybe you share something that they done that was not quite right and it hurt you. So when you share like that, they don't have a defense up right away, because they now is you and them are connected. It's a peaceful, harmonious sharing. So it's very easy for them to accept, and then also allow them to share in their heart. But when the strong emotions come up, if in that case, when things happen, of course, we're not perfect, then you would step back and you continue a different day. So it's a way for you to listen to what they have to say, and also a way for them to listen what you have to say. And in that way, when you share, it's much easier and much soft. And then once you understand each other, then there's caring and love. Because without understanding, then you really don't know why the person have done the things they have done, or why you have feel the hurt that you have felt. So things like that is the way of communications. And the awareness, the mindfulness is very important to create that space, that environment where both of you can sit down and fully in awareness to share about the things that's happening with yourself and between each other. But if you sit in an environment where it's heated, emotions come up, then it's like a war zone. You won't be able to do much. And so, for me, also, there's time where I want to share things, but the person is not there. And so there's also a way for you to heal. This is to heal the wounds of the past, is to share things that happen and you feel regret or things like that to the person who's no longer there. Like for me, when I about four and a half years ago, when I was in a retreat in Thailand, and I received a message, a phone call from my mother to let me know that my auntie had passed away due to cancer, the one that I had been living with. So for me, when I hear that news, I just say, okay, my auntie had passed away. I knew she had cancer, so that was it. And I didn't have anything emotional or any strong feelings. But then as the days go, a few hours in after that, while I was doing Dharma sharing, suddenly a rush of strong emotions that came in, a memory flooding all parts of my body. And my hand was so shaky, I could not even invite the bell while I was doing Dharma sharing, facilitating. So I had to excuse myself. And then I go back to my in-breath and out-breath. And I follow my breathing for a while. And then I start to do walking to embrace that strong feelings that's coming up. And I was totally confused of all the feelings because they come up so quickly, so fast. I could not recognize what is going on. Was it sadness? Was it regret? Anger? All these things just kind of mix in together. So going back to my breathing and my footstep, allow me to calm my mind and start spacing out and recognizing one emotion at a time to see what is going on inside me. And what have come up, I recognize, was the strongest one was regret. Because when I was young, I grew up, I was born in Vietnam, and I lived with my grandparents, and it was the happiest time of my life in my childhood, up until I was 11 years old. Then my auntie and uncle in America, they sponsored the whole family over. So for me, as a young boy at 11 years of age, living in the countryside, carefree, running around, do everything I want, now suddenly I got plucked out from the field and thrown into a city. And I had to live with my uncle and auntie who I did not know. I never met them before. I just know they're my uncle and auntie, and they sponsor me over. But the thing is, I was not able to live with my mom. I was not able to live with my grandparents, the people that I'm closest with. Suddenly, I got thrown into this family that, even though they're my relative, but I really don't know them. And they all speak English. And I don't know any words in English. So it was a cultural shock and also a mental shock to 11-year-old boy. So during that time, I was very angry. Also, I guess because of the teenage hormones and everything that's coming through, I feel like I'm an outcast. I have been thrown away by the family and into this family that I'm staying as if, I have been abandoned. But what I did not recognize was that my uncle and auntie loved me very much. They wanted me to come and stay with them, because they know that the best way for me to learn English is by living with them, and they don't speak Vietnamese. My uncle was American. Only my auntie can speak a little bit Vietnamese, but even so, she would not speak Vietnamese to force me to be immersed in English and learn and grow up quickly. But for me, at 11 years old, I did not know that. I just thinking that they're just being cruel to me. Give me hand language, sign language, speaking words that I don't have no idea to understand. I had to guess all these things. So it made me very frustrated. I hated that. And then I also have two cousins, Rosemary and Kathy. They really care for me just like I'm their brother. And my uncle and auntie raised me, care for me just like their son. But I didn't see that. I did not recognize that. My uncle would take me to Camelback Mountain to go hiking, take me to baseball game. But for me, hiking in Arizona and Camelback Mountain is extremely hot. And there's no tree. And he's dragging me up this mountain. And then when I finally got up to the top, and he's very fit, I finally got to the top and said, okay, let's go down. It's so pointless. It's like torturing me. And then he took me to this baseball game. I mean, I like to eat the hot dog, but to watch this thing where they hit the bat and they run, and I don't get the game, and I see like what kind of physical thing. And normally I watch like soccer and things like that, and that's like a sport, but this new stick thing, it's not working for me. So, but for my uncle, he don't have a son, so he's taking me like his son, trying to show me all the things that he loved to do, to share with me. But I didn't get it. And then for my auntie, because I didn't like where I was living and acting out and rebellious, so I usually don't come home until very late. But every time I come home, I always have a plate ready for me, all my food. What I need to heat up, she wrote a little note, put it in the microwave for 3 minutes. I take this and separate and put it in another 5, and then you eat them together. Show me all this American food. I never get to eat Vietnamese food. That's what I usually like. So again, I had to be forced to eat these weird new food that I'm not used to. So I would go to school early in the morning, grab my lunchbox, But instead of coming back at the right time, I usually just go and hang out with my friends and come back very, very late and feeling very outcast. So I never really sit down and have dinner with the family, because at that time, with that state of mind, I didn't think that was my family. I thought I was abandoned, so I don't care. I would come home at night just to eat the food and live to the next day, but it's like always wanting to go do something else, maybe escape somewhere, the thoughts like that. Not quite to run away, but it's almost to that point, because I could not receive the love from them. And so during that time in Thailand, where I received the news that my auntie had passed away, and all of these emotions that come up, and then I recognized it had been almost 15 to 20 years that I have never came back and said hello to them, to my auntie and my uncle, who have also passed away. It had been so many years that I have not given them a phone call or to write them a letter. Because when I was old enough to go to college, I left. That was my ticket, my runaway ticket, because I never seen them as a family. So when I left them, I left Arizona to go to school in Colorado. I just kind of run away and closed the chapter on them. And I forgot all about it. When I grow up later, in my 30s, I still did not come back and see them. Even if I was there in Arizona, going to work there. For some reason, I have no communication. And I just block everything, and I just throw it away. Everything. And so now when I hear the news, then all of that flood back, because now I start understanding all the things that I have done. But during that time, I have blocked the memory away, so I never recall it, and no reason to, until that news that my mom let me know. So all of these emotions come up, and it was the anger and the frustration of myself. Even after as a monk, why didn't I give my auntie a call? Why didn't I connect back to my past? So those are the regrets I have. And the regrets that I never recognized the love that I have gave me. I was drowned in my suffering of my idea that I was abandoned, imaginary scenario that my parents had just left me and walked away, and I was abandoned and alone. That was the story I created in my own mind, and I was stuck in it. I live in it. I acted all my life based on that imaginary scenario. But in reality, a beautiful family was there for me. I was living in a beautiful family with 2 cousins that was my sister, with an uncle who shared everything that he could have learned when he was a young boy to learn from his father. He gave it all to me, tried his best to transmit all of that with all his love. But I did not receive, because I blocked it away. My auntie, who wanted to be my mother, who cares for me, every needs I need in schools, food, everything, and do her best to embrace me as a mother, but I was not there to receive it. Everything was there, but I walk away. I look at the other side. I only see the suffering. I never see the happiness that was just right there, just right across the corner. So with all of that emotions come up, with all of my regrets, after walking meditation for a long period of time, I was able to calm myself, and I came back to a meditation hall, and I lit the incense offering to my auntie. And I sat down and I started to write, to thank her, to thank my uncle for all the things that I have tried to do for me, to raise me as their own son. The little things. Now I start to remember back the little thing. The plate that she had with the notes, heat this in the microwave 3 minutes, take it out, take this, put it in the microwave for 5 minutes, then you eat these two together with this. Little things like that. Or my peanut butter and jam sandwich, cut in half, nice and neat, my cracker and then my juice in the lunchbox, ready every morning before I get on that bus. So things like that, I start to remember back, and I wrote it down. Pages by pages, I keep on writing and writing, as if I'm talking to her, as if I'm talking to my uncle. And that is beginning anew, is to recall something in the past, a suffering in the past, but bring it to the present moment under a full mindful awareness of what I'm doing, not drowning in it. I was able to calm myself through the walking. Now I'm just sitting down and embracing it, recognizing it, and writing it down and sharing it with my uncle and auntie. And then when I finish my letter, pages and pages, then I burn that letter. In that sense, it's almost like to renew myself. And after that, I begin to call my own mother, my other auntie and uncle, making connection back to my family. And also, I recognize all my brothers and sisters in my monastic life. I treat them, I see them, I feel them in my heart as if they are my brother and sisters. And their parents, like mommy, when I see them, I also feel this is my mommy, and I will also act as if I'm her son. I always see when my brothers and sisters, daddy, I also see that as my own father, and I also treat them as my father. So in this way, I renew myself, and I vow that I will not let these opportunity to slip me by in life. And that is the things about the meditations, the mindfulness, the awareness, is to aware of what is happening in your life right here and right now. We don't recognize this little thing, the happiness that you have. Like for me, when we walk on the path, even though Pennsylvania have a lot of rocks we walk on, it was quite painful, but I actually enjoy each of those rocks when there's a sharp pain going up my foot, because that reminds me I still have a leg, I still have a foot to walk on. My teacher, now he's unable to walk by himself like he have always done. He always taught us. He's in a wheelchair, very difficult to walk, but I still can walk. I still have my eyes to be able to see the beauty that is in nature. I still have my brothers walking next to me, side by side, going together on the path, not only on this path, but on a spiritual path. So it is the same for you. When we're at home and we look around and we see all these suffering that we have in our life, all these regrets that we have in our life, yes, they are there. But don't forget to look a little bit further, look a little bit deeper. You will see that there's many, many conditions for you to be happy, for you to be who you are in a safe environment, to still have the physical strength to do the things that you want to do, to still have people who love you, who care for you, that's still alive. An opportunity for you to reconcile with them, to give them a call, and to say hello, and to bring back and to heal the wounds that you have in the past with them. It's the same for me. I was able to call my relatives, to call my mom, because that was also another issue that I had, because I thought that my mom had abandoned me. But it was the wrong perception. My mother did not abandon me. She just wanted me to be in a place where I can learn, and my auntie was willing to help her with that. So all of these wrong perceptions that I have, and I held on to it for years and years, for decades, and it have ruined a lot of relationships that I have with my relatives. Now I'm able to call back and to talk to them, to use the right speech, to recognize the beauty in each one of them, and then to share how I have felt during that time when I was a child. And they themselves share with me what was it that they wanted to do, especially when I talk to my mother. And when I see that, I say, oh, that is the case. That's not the case that I have thought. So in life, it's very critical that we have to be able to come back to ourselves and to get back to that calm state of mind where we can clear our mind, so that way nothing else is cluttering or taking hold of us based on these strong scenario, imaginary things or emotions that imprison us. We have to break away from that. So the practice of meditation and awareness helps us with that. And when we're in that state of mind, then we can see clearly the things that's happening and make clear decisions for our future and the way we want to live our life, how we would like to continue. And also to recognize that happiness is not waiting for us somewhere at the end of the rainbow. Happiness is right at your step, right in each breath, right in the present moment. It's not something that you have to wait 10 years from now. You don't have to wait until you retire to say, now I have the time to be happy. You can be happy right now if you learn to recognize the good conditions that we have right at this moment. To recognize the people that still love us, the people we still have. Don't wait until they pass away like I have done. To wait until that moment and have all these regrets that come up and have to write this. It is better if you can do it while they're still alive, when you are still alive. It is better to reconcile with all of them and to live your life fully, each moment, each step of the way, instead of waiting until the very end and say, I should have done this, I should have done that. Life passes by very quickly, and we never know what is the end. We never know when's the end of that path. It could come tomorrow. So every day we live it fully, but live it in the present moment and make corrections as you see. So that is the practice of mindfulness, full awareness of your life, our life, and live it. So this is the sharing that I have for today. Sorry, my voice was not quite clear, but hopefully you still understand what I was saying. And after this, we will have a short break, and then we gather back here. I think maybe about 10 or 15 minutes. Then we gather back here, and my brother will share more on the rest of the afternoons, the practice of walking meditations and eating. So we'll have a full day together to practice together. And for me, I would like to say thank you to all of you for being here, to be here for us, to allow us the opportunity to share our practices with you. Thank you so much, my dear friends.